Hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn, and this is a follow-up to my first look video of the Cinch Stack Cutter. On that video, some of my viewers left some questions, some comments, and I wanted to test out some of the things that people were asking me. So I gathered up a variety of materials to cut, and I did film that video in real time. So if you do want to catch that video, it's long. It took about an hour for me to cut through all of these things. I was measuring them as I was going to give you an idea for like how thick each of these different substrates are. And I was doing commentary as I was doing the actual cutting. So that video is about an hour long, probably too long of a video to sit through just to find out whether or not the Cinch Stack Cutter can cut through these things. Short answer is yes. All the things here, it cut through just fine. And so if that's what you wanted to know, there's your answer. In this video, I'll give you a recap of what all of these things are. I will measure everything so you have that information. If you do want to see the me actually cutting it, and that way you can kind of gauge for yourself how easy or hard or how much effort it looked like I was putting in, that video is available. But because it's long, and I know not everybody likes long videos, and they don't always do very well for me on my channel, I'm actually just going to make that available to my channel members. So if you're a channel member, you have access to that. You can see me actually cutting through all of this and get my sort of unvarnished commentary as I was doing it. If you're not a channel member and you want to watch that video, my channel memberships start at 99 cents. YouTube takes 30% of that, so it's really just so that you can say you're a channel member, and that's the reason why I have the lowest level that is possible. So for 99 cents, you can sign up to be a channel member, and then you'll be able to watch that video, and then you can just end your membership after a month. So I'm only putting it behind a membership because it's the sort of video that I think if I put it out there, I'm just going to get a lot of comments about why it was so long, when all people want to know is whether it cut through things okay. All right, so I'll give you the short answer here. The medium length answer, I guess, because the short answer is yes, it worked just fine on all of this. So the first thing I cut through was solid color cardstock. This is 176 GSM, 65 pound cover weight, and I cut through 52 sheets, and I believe I measured this at 22-ish millimeters in terms of thickness. So that's 23, 22. So around that. And so I cut through that thick of a stack. So that's 52 sheets and about half an inch. So all I did was slice this in half, and it was actually pretty effortless, about as effortless as it is to slice through text weight paper. So I think that worked out really well. Next, I cut, and I might actually cut that in half again for mats and layers, because I don't often do solid color cardstock for my card bases. But this is what I use for card bases, and this is how I cut this. I buy 11 by 17 sheets of cardstock. So I took 10 sheets of 11 by 17 inches. I cut that in half to get 8.5 by 11. So that gives me that. And then I stacked 10 and 10, and I cut that in half. So I have 20 sheets that I cut through of 100-pound cover weight. And this one I struggled a little bit. I did have to, use 2 arms to slice through this, but it's about 35, 36. So our 65-pound was about 0.22, and this is 0.35-ish. So that's how that compares. So 100-pound cover, 20, it can do more than that, I'm sure. I just, this is what I had on hand to cut through. So, but I did struggle a little bit at the 20 sheets. And I think because it's thicker material, it's denser, it's a very dense paper. Next, I had somebody ask me about watercolor paper, and this is the watercolor paper that I have. It's Amazon Basics. There's 30 sheets. I haven't even used it yet, so this still had 30 sheets. It's a 140-pound cover, 300 GSM. So this first one was 176 GSM. So this is not double, but substantially thicker. So the 100-pound cardstock was 0.35, and this is 0.4. So not a huge increase from this to as compared to my 100-pound cardstock. But I did cut through all 30 sheets in one go. This cut really easily, and I think it's because the watercolor paper is a little bit, it's a little bit more fibrous. I don't think the paper pulp that makes up watercolor paper, I don't think it's as compressed as maybe solid color cardstock or white cardstock. I'm not sure, but nice clean cuts. That's the glue top. But you can see it's nice and even. Really, this is still glue bound, so that's nice. And it, let's see how thick this is. This looks like it might be a little bit thicker than 1/2 inch. So no, maybe a hair thicker than 1/2 inch, but not much. I would still say it's kind of close to 1/2 inch. So watercolor paper, check, not a problem. Next, lightweight chipboard and medium weight chipboard. So these started as 12 by 12, one sheet of 12 by 12. And I had somebody ask me, would I say that this is more exclusively for cutting stacks versus a single sheet? Well, I wouldn't have thought so, but I did struggle to cut through the lightweight chipboard, a single sheet. So a single sheet of 12 by 12 lightweight chipboard. For some reason, I could not cut through just a single sheet of this. And I have some guesses as to why that might be the case, but let me tell you what happened. So this was 12 by 12, and I was trying to cut it to 2 sheets of 6 by 12. And as a single sheet, I clamped it down just fine. The clamp was still able to go down far enough to clamp this. And what I found happen was I sliced through, and I kept on pushing down on the knife blade to get it to cut through, but it really only cut maybe halfway. So I took it out, flipped it upside down, and cut through on the other side, just to get through the single sheet. And my what I wonder is if the blade doesn't actually go too far deeply into that knife block, and so maybe at a single sheet it can't actually cut through all the way, because what happens is let's say you're trying to cut this, and it's going to cut where that gap is, right? The knife it doesn't go like up and down. It actually does a slicing action like this. And so it kind of starts up here and it slices through and then it just makes its way down. So if you saw my first look video, you kind of saw that towards the top, there were more cut lines into the knife board, and towards the bottom, fewer. Now, part of that is because I wasn't really cutting through anything that was super long. This was a 12-inch length. And I found that it just wasn't going through all the way with one layer. Now, as soon as I was able to get that one layer cut and I doubled it up, then it was effortless and super easy to slice through multiple times again. So once I had 6 by 12, I doubled up my 6 by 12, so that's 2 sheets, and I cut that in half to get 6 by 6, right? And so then I had 4 that I then cut, and then I doubled that up to cut 3 by 3s, and then by the end I was cutting a stack of 8, and it sliced through just fine. The shorter of a length that you need to cut, I feel the easier. It seems very effortless to cut through something as short as this. And so I haven't measured this. This is 0.78. So, 0.8. Okay, I think it's closer to 0.8. So this is a little bit, our watercolor paper was 0.7 or so. So this is just a little bit thicker than the watercolor paper. Now, that was my experience with lightweight chipboard. Struggled on a single sheet. Medium weight chipboard though, single sheet, it sliced through just fine. So I think it might be difficult to cut through a single sheet of something that's thin. Okay, so this is my medium weight, and this is specifically graphic 45 medium weight, if you're familiar with that. So this is 1.2 millimeters, maybe 1.3. So a bit of a step up from the 0.8 here. And I did the exact same thing. This started out as 12 by 12. I cut it in half at 6 to get 2 sheets of 6 by 12. So then I cut through 2 sheets to get 6 by 6 panels. Stack that again, and I was cutting through 4 to get 3 by 6, and then at the end I was cutting 8 sheets of medium weight to get my 3 by 3s, and it sliced through pretty easy peasy. So that worked fine. Definitely the longer of a stretch, I was sometimes having to use 2 hands, sometimes having to put a little bit of my body weight into it. Now, I also got a question about mat board. This is the mat board that I have. It's for framing. So if you took your photo into a frame shop, this is the sort of stuff that they would use. And you can see it's got a white core to it, and then they would cut that beveled edge as the aperture on the inside. And so this was a sheet of 11 by 14, and I cut 2 sheets to start because I had 2 in this color. So I cut 2 sheets to start in half, and then I stacked them and then cut 4 in half. And that gave me these. And these are 5 by 7. So I had an inch, like little scrap that I, just for funsies, I cut. And I stacked that up in 8. And it cut through, because it was only 1 inch in length. But it was this thick of a stack. But it was just 1 inch, and I put the 1 inch, when I put the 1 inch towards the middle, it was a little bit harder to cut through. When I put the 1 inch block up towards the top where the blade starts to cut, it cut through like butter, because I think mat board, as thick as it is, and I'll measure this, I think this is very, it's not very dense material. I think it's kind of, it's really fibrous on the inside there. So this is 1.3 1.2 something, almost 1. It's actually maybe a little bit thinner, but roughly it's like a little bit thinner than my medium weight chipboard. But it's definitely not as dense of a material. I feel like this is super dense stuff. I think the paper pulp here is like highly compressed into this thickness, whereas I think this is very fibrous, and just isn't as compressed. And because it was very effortless to slice through this mat board. So that is my conclusion. I cut through everything. I tried to, for some of these materials, cut through about 8 layers, 8 sheets at a time, and it did really great. Probably the maximum thickness that I cut was this I think I did stack up. I think for fun I stacked up like another 8 on top of this, and it sliced through that pretty effortlessly too. But for the most part, I think I was cutting through maybe about half an inch in terms of height. But in terms of like paper density, good variety, I think, of things that I tested here. So we've got everything as a final recap: 65-pound cover weight color cardstock, 100-pound cover weight heavyweight cardstock, 300 GSM watercolor paper, lightweight chipboard, medium weight chipboard, and mat board. All of it cut really cleanly, some with a little bit more effort than others, but I managed to cut through everything pretty okay. And the only exception was cutting through a single layer of, it might be a fluke, I feel like I should try it again, but I did struggle cutting through a single layer of lightweight chipboard. So for folks who had the questions in that first look video, I hope that this helps answer some of your questions, and I'll leave links to the Cinch Stack Cutter in the description box below if you want to check it out for yourself. And again, channel members, if you want, you can watch the 50+ minute long video where I actually cut through all of this. And if you want to see that and gauge for yourself how much effort it looks like I'm putting into cutting these stacks, then maybe that will also help if you are thinking about possibly getting this. But so far, I'm liking it a lot, and I hope this video has been helpful. Thanks again, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.